Welcome to episode 2 of the Buffalo Bills Creator Mock Draft Series. Yo ho ho, Bills Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Show. As always, your host, Dan Mitchell. Now, say that you're new here. I am an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I regularly put out videos about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL in general. If that is your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing and joining the family, and as always, smashing the ever-living out of that like button. Circle the Wagons Podcast is a part of the Buffalo Rumblings network, and let me tell you what, fantastic content. So when I was picking my brain trying to find the perfect guests to give me their mock drafts, they were one of the first shows that came to mind. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. Nate from the Circling the Wagons podcast on Buffalo Rumblings has decided to join us today for the Bills Creator mock draft series. Nate, what's going on, man?
Dude, it is. I feel honored to be a part of this show, man. It is so exciting. There's certain creators that you're watching from far and you listen to their stuff and you watch their stuff and you're just like, man, that would be cool to do sometime. Like, I got to be honest, when you tapped me on the shoulder, I was like, this is sweet. I'm really looking forward to this. And the people that you've had on before me, it's just like I'm glad that to be a part of this. So thanks, man.
No, man. I mean, I've been listening to your stuff for like a very, very long time, and this has certainly been a long time coming. But I mean, hey, man, listen, the draft is literally right here. Thursday, yeah. I know, like, I'm not sure about you, but I know that I am going to be glued to my couch Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep. Saturday might be tough because no one likes watching the draft on day 3. Mm-hmm. I will, like, just based off of other engagements, but I mean, there's a lot of speculation going into this, and I know that I hope we walk away very happy Bills fans.
I know. I remember. So just to give a quick story, like, I'm like you, I like to watch the first 2 days. Day 3 is kind of tough just because like I'll follow it along on my phone and like here and there on the TV, but I'm not glued to it like I am day 1 and day 2.
Yeah.
When I got married almost 10 years ago, like on our honeymoon is when like we were in the mountains, we were in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, and like I was like pulling away just to get to, my phone or whatever. This is supposed to be like the 3rd night of our honeymoon, right? And I'm just like, hey, who are the Bills going to draft, right? Like, who are they getting that year? And that was 2014. So that was
Sammy
Watkins year. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So no, I'm the same as you, man. Like I love this. This is like, you're like a kid, man. This is like Christmas for us, right?
Exactly.
Let's just hope we get a GameCube and not a bunch of socks or something, So like,
right? Are you normally a college football fan? Because me personally, I was born in Buffalo and then I moved down south when I was about 14 years old. And college football is king in the South, right? I never really got into it enough to where that I could confidently go onto a show and be able to know a player that's going to get drafted in the 6th round like the back of my hand. Somebody who's great at that is Bruce Nolan.
Oh yeah.
So on your network, he's amazing at that. I am absolutely dumbfounded of the knowledge that he has on some of these like late rounders. Me after the 3rd round, man, like I can't even confidently speak on any of those guys at all.
No, I'm the same as you. Like that's why I'm glad you're only doing 3 rounds on this, because I was like, after this, it's just like, it's like your own fantasy draft. Like you have an idea after the first few rounds, and then after that, it's just all, you could pick anyone and it's a good pick. But but no, I went to school at UB. I'm from Western New York. We don't follow college football the same way. And now that I'm married and have kids, like I follow even less NFL football than I want to. So like me, that's where I try to watch as much NFL football besides the Bills as I can. But yeah, I'm the same way as you. Like I just barely follow it. I mean, UB sucked until I graduated, and then, they would win like 1 or 2 games a year. And now that they're, decent, like I watch them, but yeah, same thing. Like I don't start paying attention until honestly after free agency, because people will say, oh, this is our biggest need, and they'll mock, so-and-so to the Bills. And I'm just like, you don't know who they're going to sign, like, I don't know. I like putting in the work, but I like waiting to see how the how the Bills, team needs kind of shake out after free agency before I start putting a real big stamp on it. So this last month and a half, we've been doing some mock drafts live in the air. I've been reading a lot of information, looking at some highlights. Of course, highlights are always the best of the players. So like you don't get all the drops and everything like that. But no, I mean, I think I have a feel for how this draft is, like rounds that I like certain players in. Where I think that they'll be available. So no, this is cool. I don't think there's many people like the Bruce Nolans of the world, like the Joe Marinos of the world. I mean, they're just on another level, and I appreciate the hell out of them. But I'm not that guy. But I have some favorites here, and I have some thoughts on the draft. So no, I'm for you. And I feel like if I lived in the South like you did, like you do, I would feel that same way. And I'm kind of jealous for people that do, because it's a whole other world, right?
Exactly. But I mean, regardless, still looking forward to seeing exactly who you're targeting. I feel like a lot of Bills Mafia has like their sights set on several position groups. Linebacker has been a part of the conversation. Offensive line has been a part of the conversation. But I want to see what Nate wants. Okay. So with that being said, we're starting the draft. I'm putting it on turbo mode because we decided that we are not doing trade ups or trade downs. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm still trying to work on this PFF situation. Okay, so Bills are sitting at 27. Let's be honest with ourselves. I would think that whoever we pick at this point is going to be a reach. There's not a lot of like first round graded talent once it gets to 27. But your eyes right now, where are you going? What players do you like? Who are the Bills picking at 27 on the Nate mock draft?
So this is how I would draft, right? Not how I think Brandon Beane would draft, correct?
Yeah.
So the first thing I'm going to look for is, I put this out on Twitter just yesterday. It's something I've been thinking about for a while is, there's holes and then there's needs, right? So like the biggest hole I think on the Bills roster is middle linebacker. We don't really have, Tremaine Edmonds replacement specifically.
Oh no, Dan, not another ad read. Trust me, you are going to thank me for this. Now, as many of you know, I work extremely long hours, 7 a.m. until I about pass out at 11 or midnight Monday through Friday. And you would think that I would be able to go to sleep and rejuvenate. You're absolutely wrong. My mind is still going a million miles a second, and for the most part, I'm staring at my ceiling until 3 a.m. Now, that is something that I have accepted for myself, but I needed to make a change. I needed to start taking naps, but once again, I can't nap either. Whether or not that it's my FOMO, or whether or not that I just can't get comfortable enough, or it's too bright, I have had no such luck until I ended up finding the Manta sleep mask. Now, little do you know, Manta truly believes sleep needs to be the #1 priority in order to achieve that particular level of success. Now, these things are ridiculously comfortable, and literally the second that you put it on, you feel like you're right next to Aaron Rodgers during one of his darkness retreats. I mean, look at this. Literally can't see and so you know what? I should probably apply to officiate in the NFL. Prerequisites right here. Now, Manta has several selections on their website. This particular is the Sleep Mask Pro. This company and this mask has really been able to help me prioritize what is most important, and that is my sleep, so I can keep on giving you that juicy content, baby. So whatever you're doing, go to that link in my bio and make sure you put in the code DONMAFIA, and they're gonna give you an extra 10% off your first order. Trust me, you will not regret this. Night, night, bitches.
We have guys that can play there, but it's not the same. So that's the biggest hole. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what's the reason why the Bills lost, against the Bengals, and where did they really struggle this season as a team? And I think it has to do with the offense, in my opinion, the offense. Okay. So I look at, the Bengals game specifically. I mean, the last game kind of always takes out, your biggest weaknesses, and it kind of exposes you, just like the year before. Like, I'd argue that the biggest weakness that the Bills had against the Chiefs was coaching. Like, that was their biggest weakness. True. And although, like, I was seeing folks on Twitter saying like that was a weakness again this last year, I completely agreed. Like in the postseason, the problem is we can't change coaches in the draft. Like that's not something we could do. But we can change players. We can change personnel. We can't change Ken Dorsey, but we're hoping he changes his scheme.
Would be nice.
I want explosiveness at wide receiver, or like pass catcher, like maybe a tight end. I'm just curious at who they have at tight end. I know Dalton Kincaid is usually gone by now. I think Darnell Washington's the highest rated tight end right here.
Yeah, that right there, that is the highest rated tight end between playmakers. Above him, receiver out of TCU, Quentin Johnston as well. And then the next tight end would be Sam Laporta, who's more than likely going to be a second round guy.
So I like Quentin Johnson. I don't love him at this spot.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
funny because before, I like seeing how the board falls because just a few weeks ago you couldn't get Quentin Johnson in this spot. Um, and what I like that he has size. I like that he has speed. The problem is, uh, I don't like that he doesn't have great hands, and I don't like that he plays smaller than he is. It's like, well, what's what are we getting
Where's the
here?
killer
Where's
instinct?
the killer? Yeah, how is this? I No matter what, I think it'll be an upgrade over Gabe Davis. But
Mhm.
what I really want is, and I've been talking to folks in the draft community, reading Joe Biscaglia's uh, comments about what he thinks that how he fit in the fact that he doesn't think the injury, even if he's healthier, would help him because it's more of a speed issue. Like I want to get better at right tackle. Okay. One of the best things you can do if you can't give Josh Allen a playmaker is to protect him, to give him time to find the guy that's open. So I would go Anton Harrison here. I don't think that they necessarily will, but I like him because here's the thing, Dan, and this is why I love the idea of a right tackle, or in this case, potentially a left tackle too, is
Mhm.
because automatically he's your swing tackle at worst. Best case scenario, he's your starting right tackle. Best case scenario is he's
Mhm.
eventually going to take over for Deion Dawkins if Deion Dawkins takes another step back. So this is a player that I like for this situation. I think the Bills love Spencer Brown, and I don't think they'll draft a guy in the first 3 rounds. But I love the idea of getting a guy here that can, at worst case scenario, he's a swing tackle. Best case, he's your starting right tackle, and maybe even beyond. Maybe you save money or whatever. I like the idea of Spencer Brown being our swing tackle. To be honest, like if
I love
Deion
it.
Dawkins goes down, I'll take Spencer Brown. You
Yeah.
protect him. You can run the ball better. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do. I think the Bills shored up their interior offensive line in free agency. I don't think they view guard that high, this
Yeah.
high at least in the first round.
Got it.
But man,
So
it gets me excited to
Anton
think that
Harrison.
Don
I mean,
Harrison. It gets me excited to think that you could give Josh Allen another second or two each time he drops back and
yeah.
find the guy that's open.
It's like, I mean, it's interesting too because a lot of the conversation has been no, like we really need to find people that have very high like run blocking grades.
Mhm.
But even if we were to get like a staunch playmaker, I'm actually very excited about Damian Harris. I feel like a lot of people aren't as excited as they should be. I think that he's going to be great. But I feel like putting more of the priority on finding these offensive linemen that do excel in pass blocking is better off because let's face it, Dorsey, it doesn't matter if we had damn Derrick Henry on this team. You know that he's going to get 9 or 10 attempts. And then as soon as when it gets to the third quarter, he's literally just going to be dialing up the Hail Marys, downfield passing,
Yeah.
regardless. So I think pass blocking is where the Bills are looking at because they know what their identity is. And we're not going to become, as much as I would love for us to be a bit more balanced, I just don't see Dorsey taking that step. So I am 100% fine with drafting a tackle like that excels a bit more in pass protection than rather run blocking.
Exactly. And I think that they could use a bunch of different positions as well. Like I know, offensive lineman, wide receiver is a priority for me, but I know they could have gone middle linebacker then. I'm thinking what they do this year is they take a guy on day 2 or day 3. It's just kind of like, well, let's see if he can compete, and see
Yeah.
who the best guy is between Terrell Bernard, Tyrell Dodson. Um, I just I don't love Quinn Johnson right there. I really would have liked like Zay Flowers potentially.
Yeah.
I know he's a small guy, but and then the top pass catchers are kind of gone at that point from the tight end position. So now I'm
Mhm.
looking at like this area. So like I like Dorian Williams a lot, the linebacker from TCU.
Okay.
I think it might be a little too early for him. Hold
Yeah.
on, let me see. Let me see where I have.
Yeah. He's ranked at 102. Looks like more of like a
Yeah, that's more
third.
of a third round
Yeah.
pick. What do we
Third.
have
Fourth
for
round.
defensive tackles?
Defensive tackles. Add
Yeah.
those to the board.
Nice. Okay. So let's see who we have there. Kobe Turner, Siaka Ika. Let's see.
His name has been on a lot of mock drafts as well that I've been seeing.
Yeah, that's kind of like value right there. It's not like great value for Siaka Ika. It's kind of
Yeah.
hoping Keanu Benton might be there, but he's gone. Is Zach Pickens still there as well?
Zach
He's
Pickens.
still there,
Yep,
but
I see
that's
him.
a little bit later.
Yep.
Um, I might think about going defensive tackle here. I know that's kind of a need. And who do we have at wide receiver right now? I saw Nathan or Tank Dell.
Yep. Yeah, we have Tank Dell, another shorter receiver, speedy but shorter.
Do we have like is Josh Downs gone?
Josh
Cedric Tillman,
Downs.
Marvin Mims.
Um, Josh Downs is gone, but Cedric Tillman and Rashee Rice out of SMU and Marvin Mims are still on the board as
Oh
well.
man, it's tough. I like Josh Downs. I like. It's funny. I went from like hating this draft class because I'm like, they're so small. We've already done this before, like as
Small
Bills
receiver.
fans,
Yep.
I still contend to this day. One of the reasons why we didn't like Josh Allen when he came here is because we're like, dude, we've done this before. Like he's big. Okay. We've done it. EJ Manuel. Okay.
Dude.
He's, he's got a great arm. Okay. JP Losman. We've done this before, we've eventually, and then, like, I look at these small receivers. I'm like, yeah, Isaiah McKenzie. Yeah, we've tried this before. But, the reality is we haven't tried it all. So I like, uh, I don't know if I really like Cedric Tillman because I think he's kind of like a Gabe Davis here.
Yeah.
And he's not like really, so like Gabe Davis's strengths aren't separation. It's not really speed. It's more like run blocking and contested catches before this last season. So I'm kind of worried about getting Cedric Tillman. Whereas, like, I could get a guy like Marvin Mims that's exciting because he can play out wide. He can play in the slot. He's got really good explosiveness and run after catchability. And if you think about like the
That's huge.
opposite of Gabe Davis, like Gabe Davis is like, catch the ball tackle, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's not like a Stephon Diggs that, if you give him a few yards, he can make a few guys miss. Like that's just not his game. But I really like the idea of like Marvin Mims a lot in the second round. Do I think this is actually a pick I could see the Bills actually taking? I don't think they'll take right tackle in the first round, but I could see them taking Marvin Mims. I don't mind uh Siaki Ika
Yep.
because they definitely need a defensive tackle. I might look at the next round. Maybe hopefully Zach Pickens is still there for that. As far as tight ends go, can you just let me know who's still available, like
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft or Sam Laporta?
We have Sam Laporta is sitting right here. And then
Hmm.
Tucker Kraft as well. Sam Laporta, why is he falling so bad?
I'm curious if it's just because he's not really a good blocker.
Mm-hmm.
But in this position for the Bills tight end, like we have a really decent blocking tight end. So we just need a receiver. The only thing is, I don't know if the Bills are. I think they take a tight end for sure because this is a really deep tight end class.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they take one in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel, Dan, but like me, I'm not a big tight end in the first round guy
No,
because
maybe there.
yeah, it's just like those guys just never seem to like really pan out. Like I'm looking at all the biggest tight ends of like the last 10 years, like OJ Howard, like TJ Hockett, like they're okay, but none of them ever are like, they don't seem to be like the Greg Kittle, which I believe Kittle was like a second round pick or
Mm-hmm.
so, like
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts, I think was the only first round pick I can remember in
Yep.
recent history. He just like crushes everyone.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
would consider taking one in the second round, but um, let's see, just curious for like safety is so thin. I know we're not going to get. There's
It
only one
really
guy
is.
considered in the first couple of rounds. Is an edge rusher? It's like those guys are already gone. The guys I would consider in the first couple of rounds, like Will
Mhm.
McDonald, was only available in the first, I believe. I don't think he's there anymore.
Yeah, he's gone.
And I'm sure Osiris Torrance is gone. Just curious, like running back wise.
Oh, interesting.
Just curious. I don't think the
Yeah.
Bills would take one. I'm not really interested in one, but uh,
Yeah.
like Zach
We
Charbonnet potentially. I would like him so much better in the third round than the second round, though.
Mhm.
And I know there's no way they go. So now it's between um, Siaka Ika from Baylor and Marvin Mims from Oklahoma. And if it's me, dude, like, we definitely need a defensive tackle, but I want to maximize on a guy that can potentially be our starting slot receiver this year. And then after this season, he's competing with with a Khalil Shakir for the starting slot or a boundary position, whatever he's better at. And
Yeah,
so that's kind of like why I like Marvin Mims
let's
at
do it.
this role. And yeah, that's why I'm picking him. I mean, I've heard his name come up more and more. I've been doing a little bit more research on him. And he's not a big guy. You're talking almost 5'11, 183, but like
Mhm.
he's got 4.38 speed. The Bills don't have anyone better than 4.45 speed. And that's Stephon Diggs. So imagine a faster Stephon Diggs, straight line speed at least. And I don't know. I get a little excited.
I mean, listen, I think speed is certainly something that we need. I mean, even if we just need to witness exactly what the Bengals did to us in the playoffs last year, which is like that speed that they have on that damn receiving core. I
I'd
like it,
ar-
man.
I'd argue that, like, I'm glad you said that because I feel like that's the one thing we're really, really missing in the wide receiving core is just pure speed. Like they got it from Deontay Hardy, which they signed, and with Trent Sherfield, but like I'm not counting on those guys to actually be contributors on the offense yet. We'll see, but
Yeah.
the Bills just lack that depth speed. Could you imagine a guy like they just send deep every time, and these guys can't play like too high safety. Like they need to prepare for Josh Allen to potentially throw a home run ball because I'll tell you what, Gabe Davis isn't the guy that you're really worried about. Just going deep every single time. Even though I think it sounds like that's where most of his routes are run. I think that's out of necessity, how his limited route tree is, and just what he limits as a wide receiver. Um, I like the idea of a guy coming in. So we have like more protection for Josh Allen, and now we have a better weapon than maybe he has besides Stephon Diggs. So I'm excited about that.
That's perfect. And I mean, this is not necessarily off topic, but literally everyone I've had on doing these mock drafts, I've had to ask this because it's circulating around the media, rumor mill. And I mean, this is what we do, right? Like we talk
Yeah.
about these rumors. Started off, then it cooled down. Now it's back. DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sure you scroll through Bill's Twitter and you see his name in Buffalo Bills in one tweet at least once every scroll, right? What
Mhm.
exactly? What exactly are your thoughts on that? And would you be upset? Because Arizona, I think now is asking for a second round pick. I've seen a few different possibilities. How would you feel about that? If the Bills were to give up some sort of draft assets to bring a DeAndre Hopkins
Yeah,
there?
I wouldn't hate it. It's funny that the scenario has kind of been going back and forth. First, they were asking a first, and like at first, I hear this, I'm like, I didn't know DeAndre Hopkins was even available. So at first, I was ready to jump on it, and then I sat back and I watched what did Allen Robinson go for, like a fifth and a sixth or something? Or am I thinking of Brandon Cooks? It's like a
Mhm.
fifth and a sixth. Like Allen Robinson went for like a seventh or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
Robinson did not go for much.
no, and so when people are saying a second for DeAndre Hopkins, I think that's the Cardinals wishing right there because they know that they have to get rid of him. So, like, who are you competing against to get that second? This seems high to me. Um, but I mean, you're replacing Marvin Mims with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, how can that be a bad thing? It's just the salary that kind of, he said he'd be willing to like rework his salary, and I get that.
Yeah,
If they can make that work, like, I'd be all for it. I mean, I can't
me too.
imagine this offense with DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs in it. And like,
Insane.
when
And
you
Josh
think about, yeah, exactly. And I know that you do a lot of work with like the rest of the AFC East creators and or content creators and stuff.
Yeah,
And if you were to say, I'm trying to think of like a good quarterback in the rest of the AFC. Can't really find one yet, but like, like let's say Aaron Rodgers, right? Like if he comes to the Jets, you're talking about Alan Lazard that doesn't really scare me. Like Garrett Wilson, like he's pretty good. Like give them DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, like they're
100%.
that scares me as a fan of another team in the AFC East. That's what I want. And if it does that to the rest of the fan base and the other teams in the AFC East, I think that's a good move. So,
Me too.
when I think about it from that standpoint, like I do it for a second round. It seems a little bit high, but hey, like,
Yeah,
this is you don't have to draft a guy now in the second round. There's no one better. DeAndre Hopkins is aging, sure, but there's nobody in this draft in general who's as good as DeAndre Hopkins was in his prime.
I agree.
I don't think this is just the wide receiving, the depth of this class. They're all small, they can get separation. They have speed. Like, that's why I didn't want Quinn Smith, or I'm sorry, Quinn, why can't I think of his name? Quinn Jackson, the first round. He didn't play like that. DeAndre Hopkins plays like that. He's got the size. He's got decent speed. It's not great, but like, I mean, the guy can amazing
Moving
contested
ball.
catch player. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so I'd be for it, man. Like I think
me
it's a little
too.
steep, but I just like anything, man, as a fan, I'll find a way to justify it to myself and be completely
Have
fine.
to.
Yeah.
Have to.
No, here's a question though. Would you do it for a first round too, or what's the highest draft pick that you would do it for? Because I think second is
Oh,
the
man.
highest that I would do it for.
So that's a difficult question. I definitely wouldn't do it in the first, but I think anything after I would because of this. I mean, normally, like once you're a team that's not quite within their Super Bowl window, and I still believe that the Bills are in their Super Bowl window right now. I think that I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm starting to get like the gut feeling that this year is the year where it needs to happen because then we need to start having a lot of difficult conversations about who's paying, who's going, mini rebuilds going into it. So I think a move like that would be worth it because the rest of our division got significantly better. That's, of course, Aaron Rodgers pending right over to the Jets. And then obviously the Dolphins have a new mind on the defensive scheme. They added Jalen Ramsey. I think at this point, where the Buffalo Bills are and considered about how open their window is, I would be completely fine with sending over Ed Oliver in a second for DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh
That's
God,
what
yeah, throw Ed Oliver in there too for sure. For
exactly.
sure.
Save a
Yeah.
little money.
Save a little
Yeah,
money, exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I could see the Bills, potentially going defensive tackle in the first round if they can do
Yeah.
that, because they will need to replace him. Who's available now in the third round at defensive tackle? I think Zach Pickens is probably gone by now.
Let's
I'm curious.
see. Yeah, that Kobe Turner has been falling a lot as well at a wake.
He has been. He's more of I have him shown as like more of a fourth round grade. So I don't really like the defensive tackles that are at this point, at least. What do we have for tight end? Even though it's crazy to go offensive, offensive players for the first.
Hey, I mean, like I said, this is the Nate draft, baby.
Tucker Kraft's I think's gone. Sam Laporta might be gone too.
He's gone.
Luke
Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan. Brenton
Well,
Strange out of Penn State.
let's see. Oh man, like so you got Luke Schoonmaker is like a really good blocker. And has some, athletic upside to catch the ball too. Oh man, like just curious, what do we have for linebacker? Because I know Jack Campbell's probably gone. I was just wondering if Nick Herbig or Marty Mapu is still there.
Right now we have Dorian Williams out of Tulane, and then Ivan Pace as the reasonable picks as far as rank. There's Henry Tutu, Noah Sewell. I'm not sure about you, man, but I feel like after every single draft, like once the Bills end up getting their list of names, I need to really focus on pronunciation. I butcher. It's every year, man. It's every year when I do like, oh, let's take a look at who the Bills drafted. It's every single year. I get absolutely roasted in the comment section for just butchering some young man's name.
Yeah, no, save. What about safety? I'm curious if like Quan Martin is there or Jair Brown or Jordan Battle.
Let's see. Oh, we got Jordan Battle right there.
Jordan Battle right
Alabama.
there. Yes, yeah, let's go Jordan Battle. The reality is like I think the Bills have really good safety depth for the first time ever. I mean, they're starting 2 all-pro safeties. They have Taylor Rapp, which I think could be a potential starter if the Bills decide to move on from, Micah Hyde. They could re-sign him and take over. But it would be nice to get a little bit of youth in that position.
I agree.
And I think this is a guy that could start over, Poyer. He could be no matter what, he could be a core special teamer right away. But like, this is a guy that could be learning on the job. Think about like a better version of Jaquan Johnson, which I like Jaquan Johnson up until this last season when, he wasn't doing anything. Before that, I'm like, this dude's got potential. And then, then he didn't. So you get a guy from Alabama, a guy that has experience in Nick Saban's system, like, at that high of a level. I like it. I'm not against it. So that's the only name that sticks out to me that I would like because, and I'm sure they hated this draft, but
no, it's not that bad. I will
terrible.
say, and so I will say that this is the first time I've ever seen a grade above a C plus, like out of all the mock drafts that I have done. But yeah, no, I mean, I think PFF says that it's B minus, and I mean, I wouldn't really worry about PFF either. Like, I had the biggest beef with them back when Josh Allen was first starting in the league. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. What I do like about them is I don't like this stuff. You're right. It does not matter the grade. That's so dumb.
It's great analytics.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
What I like about them is when they do their own specific grades based on like you were showing when you're clicking on things, you could see like their their contested catch percentage and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
that stuff, like the advanced stats. I like
Beautiful.
whether if they're just like Josh Allen is an 84, like a Madden rating, like 84. It's like, well,
Come on,
or
man.
yeah, like let's get a little bit more in depth than that. But they sell you on it. So no, this is I would be psyched if this happens. I don't think this is going to happen, but I don't know, man. What do you think as far as like when I think about the Bills losing the last few postseasons,
Mhm.
like I know the defense lets them down, but I don't want to win by the defense being great. We
I don't
have
think
Josh
anybody does.
Allen, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
I wasn't pissed off at the defense when they lost to KC. I was pissed off at the coaching. I'm like, how could you guys lose this? Like I expected the Chiefs to put up 30 something, 40 something points. Like that's a given.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Um, no, I mean, I would definitely agree with you as well. When I try and look back at any of our playoff losses specifically, like the Chiefs, the Bengals most recently, I would have to agree with you. I think that it really did come down to coaching. That's why I'm sort of excited that I think Sean McDermott's going to be taking over the play calling a bit more. And like we
mhm,
can at least have a break from the soft zone that Leslie Frazier absolutely loves running. I was so frustrated during that playoff game when I was seeing all of our DBs lined up like 7 yards off the line of scrimmage, like against
amen.
the most speedy wide receiver core on the face of the planet. I was
Amen.
absolutely livid.
It's
But
3rd and 4, right? It's 3rd and 4 and they're 7 yards off. Like, what are you
yes,
doing?
yeah, what are you doing? No, I mean, honestly, I think that the defensive holes really aren't as significant as a lot of people are making them out to be because McDermott and not Frazier now, obviously, that he's out, have been very good at getting the most out of their players within like certain things. Like, yes, I would love to have a player that would come in there and sort of soften the blow of missing out on Tremaine Edmonds as middle linebacker, right?
Mhm,
That would be great. But I think what we need to do this year, like the league is offensive first. Load up Josh Allen with protection and load him up with some more like playmakers. That's how I think we get over the hump.
mhm. Exactly, exactly. And it doesn't have to be, just this season. Like we can keep doing it. I just feel like it's more of a priority like this year than ever. It was just so exposed. Like, and it wasn't just the playoff games. I know I've been harping on it, but it just felt like after the first few weeks of the season, like the offense was just sputtered. Like, I mean, they had enough yards, they had enough points, but they made so many mistakes and they just couldn't get going
Yep.
in certain times. And you're just like, come on, like this is supposed to be the best, if you think
Bills
about it
team
between
ever.
exactly. The difference between Dable's offense and Dorsey's offense between 2021 and 2022 was literally only like Emmanuel Sanders and like I think Darrell Williams, a right tackle or right guard or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was mostly the same personnel. So what's the big variable here that's different? And I think it's Ken Dorsey. But dude, you were talking about rumors. I swear I thought you were going to talk about Josh Allen, Britt Williams when you were saying,
Oh,
dude, the rumor mill, like, dude, I Josh
yeah.
Allen
Oh
is an
no.
emotional player.
Yeah.
And like if stuff's happening at home, man, like I think that might affect the way he plays. Now we have no idea, and we still won't, and we probably never will know. But if Josh is dialed in this season and he has some
Yeah.
distractions out of his way,
Yeah.
like that could be a factor. I hate to say it is because
That's
of
a
all those
dangerous
other
time for
things.
the NFL.
Yep,
That's a
dude.
dangerous time for the NFL.
One of the things I love about your content creation in general, not just your podcasting, but like your social media is like how honest you are about relationships and stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah.
with your girl or like in before like years past, like breakups and stuff like that, right? Like it's a legitimate thing. Like I've been on both sides, of the breakup that I've been broken up with and I've broken up with people and it changes how you feel, sometimes bad, sometimes good. So like, we're going to talk about this on our episode tonight, just briefly, just to kind of like as general, guys, as people, as human beings, like this can affect you if it is true. We don't know, but
Absolutely
like,
right, man.
but dude,
Dude,
she scrubbed all his pictures from social media. That's not a good sign.
just yeah. I mean, just did it all. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to dive into the rumor mill like right here and there, but I mean, I've heard reports of the fact that she found out about what happened literally the night before the Cincinnati Bengals game.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
hell, dude. Like, I mean, I'm surprised he played the way that he did. Like,
I
I'm
know.
not surprised that he played the way. Say that was true. Holy hell, man. Like, I mean, say for example that like a man goes through something.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. Like, there's definitely been times where like I go on like a YouTube hiatus for like a week or two. It's like so much is going on, like stress, etc. It's rough, but I hope that Josh Allen, like you said, removed of distractions this year and just has that killer instinct just to go out there.
Exactly. And I'm hoping that that's what it is. I think it's just a big deal if it is true, just because, like, I mean, they haven't been dating for just a year or two. Like, they're like high school boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, they've
Yes,
been together
high
for a
school,
while.
long
I
time.
remember when I broke up with my high school girlfriend of like 3 years, and that was a huge deal. I was in college at the time, but like I remember that being like, dude, like I got to go to class today. Like I feel, depressed or whatever. Like this is and I can't imagine, like I didn't have to perform the next day at a high level like Josh Allen, of like trying to, read a defense and pretend like my life is exactly the same as it used to be, like
Yeah.
that person is still in your life. Like that's crazy. Like they owned a house together. Like this is like that's insanity. You forget that these people are still people. I don't know if you remember this, Dan. Do you remember when Mario Williams came to Buffalo and like his fiance broke up with him and didn't give back the $1 million engagement ring? like that's crazy, right? Like and I think as fans we felt bad for him. We're like, dude, like that sucks. Like we feel bad. And he was like, yeah, I really appreciate, Bill's fan base for sticking up for me and actually having some empathy. Like, and I'm like, dude, like it sucks. Like it sucks to be broken up with. It sucks to, that this person that you think, is who it is. So I'm more interested in the personal standpoint of like how it affects you as a person than like, anything else like that. But the rumor mills, there's some salacious rumors out there, and I don't want to give any of that credence because we have no idea what's true.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I try not to speak on it, the specific rumors that is, but I mean, I love talking about like looking back and saying, you know what, it does kind of make sense because a certain point during the season, you could tell that he wasn't him and it wasn't his elbow. In my like own theory, I think he was just going through a lot of personal things, distractions, and I mean, I'm just hoping that he's able to bounce back this offseason. But I feel like he's over it, and I feel like he's ready to go.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
can wipe his tears with his 51 million guarantee.
Amen, amen. It's crazy. Like, could you imagine at that age, like at 20, because he's 26, 26, you're getting $250 million, basically, and like. Dude, like the temptation, like in general, in guys, like, there's temptation in general. I can't imagine what that's like to be at that Tiger Woods level or Josh Allen level where I'm not saying that that's what it is, but like, I've never been in that realm. For me to judge someone like that without having been there is insane. And like, but you're right. Like just to focus on football and just to like, to have this like that'll be good for him. I think him being back in the building with his boys is going to be good no matter what. And it happens, man. And you just got to move on and grow. I'm glad this isn't happening like during the middle of the season, like it supposedly did happen, like you just mentioned, like it was happening during the season. Like get it all out of the way right now in the off season. Be ready by September, get your mind clear, good or bad, and be ready to ball.
That's good, man. No, I definitely agree. Nate, I really appreciate you coming on, man. That was an awesome mock draft. We will certainly be in touch, guys. Once again, please go check out Circling the Wagons podcast. It is one of my go-to listens on the Buffalo Rumblings Network. Thank you again, Nate. We appreciate you, man.
Bro, you're the man, Dan. Thank you so much for having me on. This is a pleasure and honor. And dude, I gotta have you on my show because this was a lot of fun, as I knew it would be.
Yeah, man. Let me know. We'll see y'all. Go Bills.
Go Bills.